here. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite box set of characters that nobody knows, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Marvel Legends A-Force box set. There's a lot of characters to go through. You know it's Marvel Legends, you know, just there's some interesting stuff to talk about here, and there's some good stuff, and there's some bad stuff, and, you know, we're going to get to it, but there's a lot of characters to go through here. We got 6 characters to fly through, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time on the introduction, so let's just get started. And we'll start with Sif. She comes with this sword. Great piece of plastic. It's got some burgundy paint on it. As you can see, she holds it, and it also fits on her belt just like that, depending on your sensibilities. She also comes with this cape. This is a different style cape that we've seen with Marvel Legends. Kind of interesting. I don't think it has any shading on it, but it does have this white bit with the fur that does have a blue shading on it. And it just sort of fits with tension up around her shoulders, which does admittedly look nice. It just means that you're limited in terms of articulation with her shoulders if it's on. Head sculpt wise, it's pretty good. And then we have this bit of business, this crest mask helmet kind of thing over, and that's kind of done fine. Red paint on there, that looks good. The paint on the face looks pretty good. Eyelashes, eyeballs, you know, the eyebrows, lips, all this stuff is painted. Black hair, just jet black. Head is on a ball peg. There is a little bit of a disconnect between the head and the neck. Not as bad as one that we will look at here shortly, but it is there. Down to there, up to there, swivel, no issues. The red is the base plastic. The skin tone is painted on, and it's not done perfectly around the neck. And then the white design is painted on, and you can see where the different sections meet. It doesn't quite line up. So that's a bit unfortunate. Single ball peg for the diaphragm joint. Gets you pretty much everything you need, I think. And then we have this design that's painted on her torso, and that's actually done really well. We have this soft floating piece of plastic here. Is that a... It can't be. No, it's just a difference in... It's just a difference in sculpt. We have this soft floating piece of belt thing here with these straps. They're all painted well. It's a white piece with the brown painted and then the silver painted on top. And actually, it's messy right there. But for the most part, it's done fairly well. And then we have the shoulders, which are on disc hinges, rather. Great range, though. Get you all the way up to there. Down to there. Swivel around. No bicep swivel, which is interesting, but you get it at the elbow. We have this floating piece at the elbow for some added detail. I'm okay with that. The forearms are all sculpted in this armor. Let's see. 90-degree elbow bend. And then we have a disc hinge here for the wrist, which does swivel, and the hand movement is up and down. And we have this extra gauntlet piece that I think is sculpted on. So that's nice. Same for the other side. So all good. For the hips, T-jointed ball joints get you out to there. Front to there. We have these straps around her leg that are painted. But look. Not completely. Just half. Halvesies. They went halvesies on the leg straps. What a joke. Do you know what I mean? And then the boots are sculpted. They look nice. Double jointed knee. And then we have the ankles. They get you a tilt up, a tilt down, so that works, and the rocker. So no real issues there. The white is painted on and looks fairly good. So not hateful. Just sloppy paint. Then we have Monica Rambeau with the head sculpt there. We got the headband painted on. It's not done extremely well, but it's done okay. The hair sculpt is actually pretty cool. It looks good. The head is on a ball hinge. Get you down to there and up to there. And then a swivel. Huge disconnect between the head and the neck. That looks terrible. You know, if you get her pose right and hide it, you should be all right, but that is really not good. And then we have this floating piece here for her... trench coat, that looks good, and we have the sculpted trench coat arms on or disc hinges for here. Elbow 90 degrees with the swivel for your bicep there, and then your wrist swivel and hinge up down, and this hinge is in out for her fist. Actually, this hinge is it's definitely in out. It's just offset a little bit. We have this paint here on the torso, black paint on the abdomen, and then white paint. Well, maybe not. I think it's white plastic on both. Yeah, it's white plastic on both, so it's the black that's painted, and they did a really good job here on the chest design. It's like almost flawless. Great job. Then we have the hips. Oh, we have the diaphragm joint. Works the same as the other. We have the hip joints. Get you out to there, so that's a bit limited. Forward and back, no issues. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee. Ankle tilt up tilt down. There's not much up, to be fair. And these joints are really stiff, so be careful. And then a ankle rocker on that section. And no paint on the back. I guess they figured, why waste the money? But the head sculpt is cool, and it's well painted at least. Next up, we have Singularity. This is the worst one in terms of head to neck continuity there. It's really bad. Detailing-wise, it's actually really cool. It's a mix of blue and purple translucents throughout, and then it has these white flecks in it that are supposed to be the stars or whatever. That looks really good, and then there's some metallic purple paint added here. Actually, it might be metallic purple. Yeah, it's just a metallic purple paint. It's not the translucent purple. It looks like to me, just added throughout. It looks really good. A little intense on the face, maybe. I'm not sure if they'll all be that way, but it is a little intense on the face. Like, it's darker on the face than on any other part of the body. And then the eyes are painted white. So all in all, it's a really well done, representation of the character. It's just, at the same time, it's just not very flashy. Like, it's a keep it simple, stupid kind of approach, and it works. With the exception of the head. But the head is on a ball hinge, get you down to there, which looks ridiculous, and up to there, which doesn't look bad. And then you get the swivel. The torso is a ball joint. Shoulders are disc hinges, get you all the way up, no problems, and down, and swivel, and bicep, and curl, and swivel, and hinge. You know what I'm saying? And then the wrists are on a hinge and a swivel in and out here, and up and down on this side. So all in all, everything works fairly well. For the hips, they're on T-jointed ball joints, get you out to there. Thigh swivel, forward and back to there. Double jointed knee. You do have a shin swivel there, and then you have ankle tilt up, ankle tilt down, and a rocker. So yeah, I mean, it's not the figure that's going to wow you, but overall, it's really well executed. And then we have Loki, and there's some really good stuff here, and then there's something that's really bad, and we'll talk about it. So we'll get the really bad out of the way, because then it's all pretty much good. It's the head sculpt. So the head sculpt itself is fine. It's the hair. So the way that the hair is, the plastic's really not soft enough, especially in the front, because it's so thick, that when you sit it on the ball peg, that's just a ball peg for the head. You don't get a hinge there, as you can see. When you sit it on the ball peg, it always has to sit like this. So there's always this disconnect. That's to allow space for the cape and to kind of flow down the chest. But it puts the head at a weird angle where she's always kind of like has her neck extended. It's not a good look, which is a huge bummer because everything else is done really well, which we'll talk about now. Head articulation suffers from the same problem, so we'll include that in there. The crest here is all sculpted well. It looks nice. It's glued in. We have gold paint on the hair. The hair is sculpted well enough. Gold paint throughout. Blue eyeshadow. Green eyeshadow. Green eyes. Black eyelashes. Black eyebrows. The lips are painted and shaded. So knock out head sculpt. Other than that, the chest is sitting on the single ball peg for the torso, get you the swivel and a little bit of up and down and around, so that all works well. The shoulders are on disc hinges, so all the way up to there, down to there, and around. Bicep swivel is in there, so no issues there. Single jointed elbow that gets you less than 90 degrees, but it's okay, and all that stuff is on a green marbly, like swirly plastic, which looks pretty good, with the exception of the light green that's added on top and faded well, and I think that's done digitally. But it looks good for the scales and stuff. So all that's good to go. And then the hands are on a swivel here and a hinge up down on both sides, and the fingernails are even painted. So really well executed. And then we have this floating piece here, which it's all this dark green. The brown is painted on and looks good. The gold is painted on, and then the trim is hand painted and is relatively sloppy. All right, for the hips, T-jointed ball joints, very limited. Get you out to there. Forward, no problem. Thigh swivel, that works fine. Double jointed knee, this is a floating piece, so they didn't sculpt it. We're still living by the rogue rules, so to speak. And then the strap on the boot is painted, and is painted fairly sloppy, at least on this side. Double jointed knee, we talked about. Ankle tilt up, ankle tilt down, so not much up, but a little bit. And the rocker. And then the back of the figure is cool, and then this is the same cape, same approach here where it's painted, and then it looks like washed, but it's hard to tell. And yeah, so otherwise good, with the exception of how she always has to look, which is pretty stupid. Next up, we have Elsa Bloodstone, which is who makes up the majority of accessories for this set. So here we have brown plastic with the gray painted on for her 2 rifles, which is done pretty well. And then we have her handgun, which is silver with the brown painted on. And the handgun can be held, as can the rifles, and then it can also go into her holster there. Now, for the head sculpt here, oh, never mind. This one might be the worst between head and neck. I mean, that's crazy. Otherwise, though, the head sculpt is nice. We have this hair that's all shaded, so that looks good. It has a wash on it. No swivel for the ponytail, so that's a bit of a bummer, but not the worst thing in the world. We do have orange plastic here for the chest, so it doesn't really come through. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it gets really dodgy around the seams of the joints there in the neck. Luckily, it's not so bad in the front. It's just in the back, at least on mine, but individual results will vary. Her collar is painted on with the little red detail there, and then, of course, the flesh is painted on to the top of the chest there. So she has this ball hinge, and it has a huge gap between her head and neck, so articulation should be pretty amazing. So all the way down to there. And then let's see if we can't get back to there, and then the swivel. The face is painted really well, though. We have the floating trench coat, which is like another theme for this set in a way. And then we have disc hinge shoulders, which get you up to there. We have a single hinged elbow where you also get your bicep swivel rather. And then you have a swivel here for the wrist, and then hinge up down on, is it in out on this one? So, oh well. And then we have a single ball joint for the torso. We have this, which is painted actually, which is interesting. I wouldn't have necessarily expected that, so that's cool. Paint on this side, on both sides. So that's well done. We have this floating piece, but it's strapped around her hips and then around her thigh, rather, so that works well. This is just painted, so it's not sculpted, the seams in the suit, so it looks a little plain, but the belt helps hide it. T-jointed ball joints get you out to there, front to there. Thigh swivel even works on the one with the holster. Then we have a double jointed knee, and we have something interesting here where the bottom of the knee has the flap for the boot, which is a nice approach. I feel like a lot of times we don't see stuff like that with Legends. We see like the floating pieces more often. So that's nice to see. And then we have an ankle tilt up, down, and a rocker. The feet are very little. So keep that in mind. She's going to be difficult to stand. And lastly, we have She-Hulk. Unfortunately, there's a huge issue with this right out of the gate, and that is the proportions of her arms. Her arms are short. Oh, no. It looks goofy. There's a couple other issues, including the head sculpt, which isn't great. I think a lot of people want this set for her specifically, so it's a bit of a bummer. It's not the worst, but it's not great. So let's continue to talk. So the hair is green and then is washed with a darker green. It's subtle, but it's there because the wash is overpowering, so it's hard to pick out the highlights, but it's definitely there. The head, just on a ball peg, so limited articulation just down to there, up to there, and then the swivel. You do have a nice ball peg in the upper torso, so you'll get a lot of range of motion there. And then you have this purple, like kind of metallic plastic with the white painted on the neck, which does look good. The white belt is painted on and looks fair. Actually, it looks pretty good. It's just around the seams where it gets a little sketchy. Arms are all, oh man. So we got just classic Marvel Legends stuff going on here. So the upper arms are all green. They're on disc hinges, get you up to there and around, bicep swivel. Then we have a single hinged elbow on white plastic with the green painted on. So we have some tears going on, like some paint wear going on there at the seam. Wrist swivel and hinge in, out on both sides. We have disc hinges for the thigh joints, and they're dropped down from the upper part of the abdomen here. So it's not my favorite way to do business, but you get out to there. It just never quite looks right. And then you can spin it this way, move the leg up, and move the thigh back, and you get forward to there. Let's see if it'll help. Yeah, no, never mind. You can just use that side of the hinge, and you can get a greater range. It's just awkward. I'm just not a fan. Actually, you know what? We might be able to, yeah, and then you can spin them this way to get a wider range for the outward motion too, at least on this side. Not, you know, it's just not a good joint. I've always been critical when they do that kind of stuff. So let's rotate it around. There. Thigh swivel, double jointed knee, which works really well. And then ankle tilts that look great. Yep, all the way up, all the way down, and then the rocker. So no issues there. It's just, you know, a number of other issues, which is unfortunate because I think most of us have been looking forward to a She-Hulk for a long time. And I mean, this will do, obviously, but it's certainly not the best I've ever seen. Final thoughts wise, unfortunately, we don't really have a knockout figure here. Like, I kind of feel like the best offering in this set is Monica, and then after Monica, probably Sif, and then after Sif, Singularity, and then the other three kind of have more major issues kind of going on, whether it be proportions or paint issues or inability to stand, or, you know, any number of kind of complaints that I have with this set. There's just, every one of them's kind of fouled up in some way. The only exceptions are, you know, Monica and then Sif. Those are done well. It's just Sif's leg bands aren't painted. Oh, they're half painted, to be fair. So yeah, I can't recommend this set unless you're just trying to flesh out your shelves, in which case, you know, Marvel Legends always look better when there's more of them together. They're not kind of knockout pieces standalone for the most part, with few exceptions. So if you're just trying to flesh out your shelves, want some more female characters to add to your roster, I get it. That's why I did it. It definitely wasn't just to get a She-Hulk.
Who else did you get it for? Just for the She-Hulk, didn't you?
I got it just for the She-Hulk. I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of wanted a female Loki also. But yeah, so I can't recommend it, but that's a bit hypocritical of me because I'm keeping it because kind of the more the merrier when it comes to Marvel Legends for me. Like, I don't really expect them to be great, but I don't expect a lot of them to be kind of as disappointing as this set is in most regards. That's not to say there's not positive attributes. I love the kind of the stuff that they did with Singularity, with the exception of the head sculpt to the neck. I love the paint that's done on Loki for the most part. I love the kind of simplicity but effectiveness of Monica. So like, there's a lot of good here. I love the face paint pretty much across the board on the set. It's just in most aspects, it kind of ultimately lets you down. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.